Tomorrow's Trump's big birthday celebration for America, the army, and it's going to be a massive day of riots for the left, which they have organized. There's warnings by Mike Pompeo that there could be sleeper cells of Iranian, the extremists also coming to perform all kinds of dangerous events. And you know what I'm looking for is commentary from Jessica Tarlov.
Drinking with my girls, hey, drinking with my boys, hey, bones in the air, now click, selfie, bones in the air, now click, selfie, bones in the air, now click, selfie.
I know she's hosting this segment of the Five, and all the other Republicans on the panel just take turns slapping her around. Welcome, Doug In Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. Hats off to the Quad Club. If you're watching 4 videos a day, those are my Quad Club people. You guys keep this channel around. Of course, subscribing is how you say thank you. Thanks for watching. Here's Jessica Tarlov.
Jesse, I want to start with you. So I think the world of deep fakes, sheep fakes, I want all of that stuff to be accurate, but I do struggle with the way that the right is talking about the LA riots and Donald Trump calls January 6th a day of love.
Well, I don't call it a day of love.
You definitely have.
But you guys did run January 6th video for 2 years.
But it was...
Okay, so this is the question. She's trying to say that just as the Democrats today are saying that the LA riots are a peaceful protest, you know, not much is happening. The Republicans have downplayed January 6th, but is it apples to compare January 6th to the riots? I don't think it is. I think the riots are much more dangerous, much higher body count, much broader and more dangerous than what happened on January 6th. I saw the crowds pressed up, going through barriers, breaking windows on the Capitol, some of them screaming, "Hang Mike Pence." Horrifying stuff. I judge that 100%, but I don't believe you should take rioters, track their phones, throw them in solitary confinement, give them 22-year prison sentences, unless you're willing to do that to every member of Antifa, every illegal alien, which clearly we're not going to do. And then as Jesse Watters said here, the left ran on those clips of that 6-hour event at the Capitol on January 6th. They ran on that for years. So you should be able to play all of these LA riots for years, and run off it politically.
It's accurate.
Okay, so we should just run the LA riots for 2 years and hold hearings then, right, Jessica?
When it really happened?
These riots, Jessica, because they were $1 billion in damage. That's what the Small Business Administrator just said on Fox.
And by the way, Black Lives Matter was even more monetary damage, a much higher body count, both black on black crime and crimes against our police, 25 police officers injured. So anytime they gave the body count on January 6th, it was always to inflate it to help Democrats get elected and try and get Trump impeached and get Republicans from being elected. They did all the fear mongering about January 6th was an insurrection. And it was, every time it went up to the courts, it was not an insurrection, not an insurrection. Nowhere did the words, if it was an insurrection, they did a terrible job of taking over the country. However, the Democrats and the leftists and the Marxists, they are doing a pretty good job of taking over every blue city, and we'll see tomorrow at their big push for an insurrection. And then we already know Democrats are going to downplay it and go mostly peaceful. Nothing happened here. No matter which of our public facilities they take over, including showing violence against our police, against the National Guard, against the Marines, against federal buildings, trespassing on federal buildings, breaking glass on federal buildings, Democrats will go, meh, normal.
If this wasn't a riot, why'd the mayor had to call curfew for the entire area of downtown? If this wasn't a riot, why'd the mayor beg all the business community to come help clean it up? If this wasn't a riot, why do we see videos of the Apple Store and T-Mobile getting looted and 7-Eleven? Why have we seen interviews with small business owners crying because their entire jewelry store was looted? If this is what looks like when LA Lakers win the championship, they don't celebrate for 6 days, Jessica. This is a 6-day riot. And by the way, January 6th lasted 6 hours. This is going on for 6 days. And why, if Trump is provoking it with the National Guard, has it spread to Seattle and New York City? Because there's no National Guard in Seattle and New York City, so how is he involved with that?
And remember all the National Guard that when Biden got elected, they had National Guard all over the Capitol. They put up all those fences. They had thousands of troops all around. And even Gavin Newsom trying to also build up that conspiracy that January 6th was a national event. He had the National Guard all around buildings in Los Angeles back in 2021 at the very beginning. So this is just all politics. I just really yawn really hard when the Democrats go nuts on stuff like this, including over the George Floyd stuff. They would just bury all the mostly peaceful protests as Wendy's and police buildings were being burned down, mass looting. By the way, Black Lives Matter. Jesse just said the January 6th was 6 hours. Now we're on the 6th day of the LA riots. It'll be 7 tomorrow when on the No King's Day that'll spread to 120 other cities. Black Lives Matter was like 120 days of riots. So just in scale, Jessica Tarlov has a lot of work to do to cover all this stuff up.
Riddle me that, Jessica.
I'm supposed to ask questions in this block, but I do have an answer for that, but I don't want to eat up Emily's time. Okay, so the footage is real. But the White House, for instance, posted a video yesterday of cars burning, but they were from Saturday.
Oh,
Isn't that Well, it is. If they're telling people that something is going on that the fire had been put out days before, doesn't that
Okay, wait a minute. If she's saying that releasing the wrong time of video is deceptive, then what about January 6th? It only lasted 6 hours. And they played that footage as if it was ongoing, like the philosophy of it was going on and on all the way through another election for 4 years, by the way. And it was majorly made into a complete production by, I think it was ABC News that ran all the hearings. They did the giant working with Liz Cheney and that whole panel. There was a giant puppet show also. They made a giant dramatic TV show out of that whole investigation. It was Hollywood. And now she's going, they played footage from Saturday. We've all been playing old footage from the riots. This is their philosophy. They're still pro that philosophy. They have not come out and condemned in any significant way the destruction of property. When Karen Bass says, hey, stop doing it, it's kind of with a wink. Everyone knows what she really means. They really mean, you know what? The police are here and the National Guard are here. So go take that violent stuff, go to Austin, go to Atlanta, Georgia, go to Chicago, guys. Come on, get it out of here. There's a lot of police here.
make a difference?
Well, I think timeliness in that context encompasses the entire duration of the riot. So if we were analyzing this like in the course of many crimes, you would include that entire span. So the 6 days duration. I hear what you're saying. It's not immediate, but I don't think it's irrelevant. And I still think it's timely. I feel like, all of the pundits and all of the lawmakers who say that this isn't violent, they haven't seen violence. It is a luxury, in my opinion, to hold the position that words are violent, like Pelosi has said, or that all Trump supporters are domestic terrorists.
They've also said that silence is violence. If you don't shout enough and come out in support of the Democrat side, silence is violence. You guys have heard that before. Their idea of violence is so twisted and messed up. Just remember what they really mean. Anything that a Republican does is violent and rooted in hate. Anything a Democrat does, even when they're killing people in a protest, is fine. What did people do to make you so angry?
Maxine Watters has said, but not see that with our eyes exactly what that. I mean, that is horrifying. All of the flames, all of the everything. And I feel like they want to pick and choose what laws are enforced. So if I misgender someone in California, right, that makes me literally a criminal, but a recidivist rapist in San Jose, he's protected because it's sanctuary. And as Secretary Noem said today at the presser, she said Californians have been conditioned that their actions don't have consequences. And now they do. So whether you're a senator or an illegal immigrant or an anarchist getting paid to throw bricks, now you're going to see consequences. Like we just had the woman here in New York City, she threw a Molotov cocktail at a law enforcement vehicle. There were officers inside. She got 6 years. And there's been a smattering of finally accountability for people torching law enforcement vehicles. They're getting 2.5, 3.5, even 5.5 years. And I feel like these are the same Dems too that reclassified all of the crimes after COVID. They reduced violent crimes to non-violent, like stalking. And now they're like, oh, right, the label. No, that's non-violent because it says here in black and white, but they're missing the forest for the trees and Everyone can see through their lies just by watching the screen.
I so want to talk about January 6 pardons, but I do need to go to you, Greg. So because I live in reality, I know that these images are going to come up in elections in 2026 and 2028. And do you think they're going to hurt Democrats?
I don't look at this politically. I look at it as a societal issue.
I like that response too. She's already asking, what's the political fallout? Well, what's going to happen? Do you think I'll lose a lot of power? Is what Jessica says. And then Gutfeld says, I don't see this as a political issue at all. I mean, we could sit here and say, hooray, we're going to win. We are. Hooray, we are going to win. But that's not the bottom line. This is not, in the end, go against LA riots because it helps us politically. So I like his position on this.
And I don't understand why the Dems continue to always side with the people who want to destroy this this country. And they say, oh, it's only a 4 square block area. Well, great, do that with fire. There's a 4 square block blaze going uncontrolled, but it's just 4 square blocks. It's kind of what they did in LA.
Yeah, they did do it with the fire. It's a mostly peaceful Palisades fire. The rest of it, Karen Bass, Gavin Newsom, they're right on top of it.
I love how the Dems say there's no riot, but if there is one, it's Trump's fault. That's pretty interesting, too. The media lives in an alternate universe, and the Dems do, too. The what if universe. What if Trump didn't send the troops? He didn't have to do that. What if? It would have been fine. No, we have evidence what happens. It's called the George Floyd riots. We know what happens when you don't restore order. Lawlessness leads to more lawlessness. We saw it. Also, we saw it with the Palisades fire. You guys had a terrible response. It got worse. And like you said, it's a luxury to say this because Trump prevented more chaos. It also amazes me that the media still thinks they matter after telling us not to believe what our ears and eyes told us about Biden. They're trying to tell us about deep fakes. These guys fell for the Covington kid. They fell for Jussie Smollett. They fell for the Fine People hoax.
They fell for it because they wanted to fall for it. This is the where you have to remove your own bias when you look at the news. You'll fall for everything fake news. And it's going on everywhere right now, especially with the Israel and Iran bombing. I support Israel. I'm getting nothing but fake news in response. Arguments against Israel are all rooted in fakeness. They're going, Doug, they're going to send our boys over there to fight a war in Iran. I go, no, they're not. Trump's never said one thing about sending one of our men over there to fight on the ground in Iran. You conspiracy theorist, you're a sucker. You let your bias fall for everything. So try not to let our bias play into it, or basically we become what the Democrats do, because the Democrats flat out, they go, we can't have a riot. So they go, therefore, there's no riots. There's no LA riots. It's peaceful. And then Trump comes in and tries to stop it. And they go, that's why the riots are worse, because Trump tried to stop it with his ICE agents. That's why it's worse. You just ask them what their politics are, and I'll tell you what all their answers will be. It's Trump bad, Trump's fault. Democrats, never our problem. Though we're the governor, we're the mayor, we're the PD, we're the lesbian in charge of the fire department, we're all the voters in California that voted for this stuff. Whatever it wasn't our fault. Whatever it was Trump's fault. And the Jews and Trump, that's just politics. I can laugh at all their arguments, but Greg Gutfeld is saying the reason why we fall for fake news is because we want to fall for it. The reason why media is falling for all these lies about these riots being started by Trump and not by Gavin Newsom or not by the radical Antifa that are being funded by left-wing groups, by George Soros, by communist groups, is because they want to protect their politics. That's man's default.
They fell for drinking bleach in the koi pond. They're susceptible to the deception. The American people were fine. The only deception, the most important deception that we uncovered is the media, and we won't be fooled again.
And that's the best news ever. That's the best take ever. Greg Gutfeld nailed it. We're not going to allow the media to brainwash us ever again. It has lost its power. It only works on Democrats, and it's because they choose to. They want it to work. The only reason why it works isn't because news media is effective. It's because Democrat, leftists, and voters who are delusional are just desperate to find any argument that supports them, and they find a few news items that support them, and then they spread that all across America. But it doesn't work on most people. It doesn't work on the average voter. In fact, it doesn't work on a whole lot of Democrats that are leaving that party going, you guys are just liars and suckers, and we're done with this. So good news going forward. And I don't just mean to help Trump win and to help J.D. Vance win in 2028. I mean, it's good news for the American patriot that we're all living in a few less lies because the media has been toppled.
Man, J.D. Vance better buckle up because he's got 8 years left after these as president.
Well, at least Trump is leaving in 28, so that's exciting.
Are you sure?
I'm Doug In Exile. God bless you to the Quad Club. Thanks for watching all these videos all the way to the end. I don't deserve you as an audience.